Welcome to another episode of What is Happening with My Life Right Now. I'm your host, Giovanna Burgess-White, with my co-host,
Yvette Valdenegro.
We're just going to get into it. This month, we are talking about the season of caregiving.
Oof.
And let me tell you, I have some stats on Gen Z and Millennials because this is really who it's affecting.
Okay.
And later on our next episode, we'll have one of our clients on to tell the story.
Yes.
But I also want you to share your story too.
Oh boy.
So I think maybe you should share your story first, and then I'll drop some stats in a little bit because I'm a Zennial. I don't want to say I'm a millennial. I'm a Zennial. You're a Gen Z. I have not had this in my life yet, this season in my life yet, but I got to see my mom go through it and my uncle, and it wasn't a great experience. It really aged my mom mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I was really sad for my grandmother, because she wasn't from here. English was her second language. My grandfather passed away, and she was by herself for a really long time in a, community assisted living. And it was sad because she didn't have community. Even though she was in a community, she never really met people because she couldn't connect. And my mom was there almost every single day. I had to do all the things. So it's not going to be a so fun episode, but it is life. This is what is happening with our life right now. And so, and a lot of people are talking about this. I feel like more and more. So
in our
why
age.
don't you share your little bit of your story?
Okay, well, first of all, because you just like took
in.
a dive.
I
I was going to say this is all coming from this book because actually I did come to a part when my mom and dad were passing that was like, what is literally happening in my life right now and in really their life right now too, right? And the transitions of what that really looks like. Okay, but you said my story, so in my head I'm like, I don't want to spend half an hour.
No,
what do you think specifically?
I think just like it hits. Sometimes, honestly, we're hoping that people will plan for this and have the conversations with their parents. And parents, honestly, they should be taking care of this. It's not the children's responsibility. But I also think when it happened, in the season that you had with your mom, it happened so fast. And it it's like you got to change your life, your schedule, your routines, your mindset, and take care of yourself before you can take care of someone else. So maybe just like a little bit of this, like when life hits you in the face.
Well, actually, it was probably a 5-year period because my dad was struggling first.
Yes.
But he got sick. It's kind of interesting. They both got sick, and then they had like that. Well, he had a life flight, so it was like that moment of they take him. You don't know if he's going to survive, and then he's fine, and then you jump on a plane, you go see them. The emotional side of it, the family's there, everybody says goodbye. Like it just happens so fast. You just feel like, am I dreaming right now, or is this literally what is happening? And you're right, you plan for it, but you don't plan for it, right? Because both my parents were very responsible and took care of all of their, I guess you want to say their financial things in their life that they needed to do. And we were prepared in the sense of kind of knowing what was going on, but the moment that it happens, you're not prepared for that. And so emotionally, I think that's probably the hardest thing is you just go, what does this really mean? And then your life just flashes before your eyes. I will say I learned quickly with my dad, and I'll just speak for myself. I kind of went into this younger version of myself mode of, yes, I'm a grown woman, but my heart, my feelings for him and everything went back to those younger girl moments when I remembered him being the strong man, the caregiver, just everything that he was to myself and our family. I actually like that. I embraced it. I don't know if anybody else thought I was a little weird for kind of just having those moments, but it was very special. So I did get to, some people just lose their parents right away. And I think that is gut-wrenching. But being able to see that transition, it does help. But there are decisions that are made with a family like, do we pull life support? What is the best interest of the other person? And when you're emotionally involved, those decisions become very, very difficult. So that's why I really do believe that planning ahead of time and knowing what that person truly wants is very important, because in my mind, it's not about what I want, because I'd want to hold on to them forever.
Yeah.
It's more about what is going to be best for them in the moment. So I learned that with my dad. Then there was my mom. I think because she was like one of my best friends, and we talked every single day when she first started going through her struggles because she had a stroke. Her life just changed. And you see this vibrant woman who's got all kinds of fire and life inside of her and just enjoys everything. She just moved here to Houston, completely, really just, her life just got taken away from her because she became completely paralyzed and she had a stroke. And then she started 100% depending on all of us and making those decisions. Again, I think that making a plan for everything, well, what if this, I know it sounds almost morbid,
Yeah.
but it's super important because you don't know the what ifs. And to be honest, she always thought that the man that she was married to, she always thought he was the one who was going to go first. So all of their plans were kind of centered around she'd be a widow,
Yes.
doing her own
She
thing.
was planning for herself.
She was literally
Yes.
and that's not the way it happened. But there's a huge family dynamic that comes in. You are, if you have siblings,
Yes.
if there's grandchildren involved, and let's just be real, 50% of marriages end in divorce, which means 50% if the people decide to get remarried, then you are now working with or involved with the significant other of the parent.
The blended
family.
family, everybody. Like it is very emotional, and there's a lot of ties and a lot of connections and a lot of everybody wants to voice their opinion. on
Everybody.
what needs to happen.
And then there can be that dynamic of, well, then who's really in charge?
Right.
Because this is a biological parent versus you're not, and you're making these decisions, but that's not what I hear this person. It's just, there's just a lot. And then the emotional pull of the responsibility, which I think is probably the hardest part of the boundaries, how much to care for someone, how much you can care for someone, your own personal capacity, and then the desire, because you may only have so much of a capacity, but your desire is more, and really trying to figure out, and each person, I've seen so many friends and family members go through this, everyone's different. And I don't think anybody could have told me, or you can't tell someone else, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It really is trying to figure out what your baseline is, but the most that you can help that feels right for you, but at the same time, the balance so it's not completely overtaking your life, because it easily can. That role, and people say it all the time, the roles get reversed. It's like they're the child, now you're the adult.
Yes.
That's crazy, but it happens. And then you find yourself going, why am I having to make this decision for this grown woman who changed my diapers, and now I'm doing that for her?
Well, I'm going to get into statistics because
Okay.
this is crazy. 60% of first-time caregivers are Gen Zs or millennials, okay?
Okay.
72% of Gen Zs plan to take care of aging parents. Only
What percentage?
72%
Plan on it?
of
Okay.
Gen Zs plan to take care of aging parents, but only 16% understand the true cost of care.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
Okay. Millennials often belong to the sandwich generation, and we see this a lot. This means they're balancing children and balancing their aging
Adults.
parents. Okay, so that's a lot of millennials. This impacts career, it impacts finances, emotional strain due to all the caregiving. So during the pandemic, this increased. After the pandemic, it increased, especially for millennials. You ready for this? Gen Z caregivers spend 74 hours a month on caregiving tasks,
Oh, I believe it.
and out-of-pocket cost is on the low end, $380 a month, but it can go up to $4,000 a month on caregiving.
I'm surprised it's that low, the
Yeah.
upper side.
Well,
Okay.
it's like a big range. 62% of Gen Zs report mental health, worsened mental health due to caregiving, and often 50% feel unsupported by their employers, and many have to adjust. So like moving in with their parents, delaying their career growth, altering their personal goals. So I bring this up because as a Zennial, as a millennial, I have not had that. My parents have taken care of most everything. But like I said, I can't even remember how many years. My mom must have taken care of my grandmother for over 5 years, maybe 5 to 8 years, doing the groceries, and she would feel bad if she didn't call my grandmother every day, if she didn't go visit every other day. And I remember my 4 years of high school was like, my mom was just always at my grandparents or with my grandmother. And then we always had to go every single weekend. It was the guilt of like, you have to go visit your grandmother. But then we would go there and it was like, it wasn't fun. Like I remember that part versus the part of like having the great time with my grandparents. And I just remember my mom always being stressed, and she was paying for everything
Mm.
because even though my grandparents became citizens, you can't live off of that.
Mm-mm.
And then my uncle ended up moving in with my grandmother the last few years because she was lonely. I mean, she was kind of I hate to say that, she was going crazy because she was by herself so much. And so I'm sure I never really talked to my mom about this, like the pause that she had to take on. And then she was taking care of 3 kids, elementary, middle, high school, plus being married, plus she had a job. I still don't understand how she had a part-time job. So she's doing all of this. And then, I was unfortunate to lose my father-in-law 6 months after I got married, and he had everything taken care of, like everything to the dot. And like you said, all the scenarios, every single scenario. Talk about planning. So I think that kind of scared my parents a little, and they were like, maybe we need to do that because my husband has a sibling. Then there's my sister-in-law, and then his siblings. So like you said, we're in the hospital. Everybody has these opinions on what they want to do, but that's not what father-in-law wanted. So I feel like we had a family meeting maybe like 3 years ago, my brother, my sister, and I with my parents, and it wasn't uncomfortable, because my parents really did have a lot. But then there was still like, but wait, there's more. This is kind of like step one. But wait, did we do all these other things? Because coming from a Mexican Catholic family, the responsibility falls on me. That's like what society believes and what our culture believes. But I was very clear with my brother and my sister and my parents that that's not going to fall on it. It shouldn't fall on any of us. And I know that the financial responsibility or whatever is left over, but at the same time, I'm like, my parents are still here, so they can definitely do something about it. And everybody's in different situations. I totally understand, but at least a conversation needs to be had because we just don't know. We don't know if something is going to happen out of nowhere, if they're going to be 10, 15 years, 20 years of caregiving. I mean, how many times have you heard someone passes away and my mother-in-law is moving in with me? My father-in-law is moving in with me. I mean, that's not easy, even if you have amazing in-laws or amazing parents.
Well, and then if you have a spouse or someone that you're living with and they didn't grow up that way and they're like, what do you mean your parents living in with us? I don't even talk to my parents, let alone now your person's moving into our house.
And if you're watching and you're like, I'm not even married or have kids, these are great questions to ask as you're being engaged and getting married. About like, what is it long term, like when we get older, about parents living with us? Because couples don't talk about it.
Or how about this, expectations of yourself? You're like, I don't imagine myself in a nursing or a care facility and someone going, oh yeah, totally. And you're going, I'm not going to go hang out there. And they're thinking, I've been saving so that I can be in that kind of environment. Like, that's not going to work for me.
And then us. I mean, even though we have kids that are, 17 through 32, we have to make those decisions even now because, again, we don't know. I would hate for my kids to have to take care of me. I mean, I love them, but I would not want to put that responsibility on them. So those conversations with my husband, what do I want? What does he want? Because we may want 2 different things.
Well, here's the thing too. You say that, like I've already told my kids, if there's a certain point, like I always say, just slip something in my food and never tell me. But
hey, but
there is a point where you go, who makes that decision?
Yeah.
And what if I can't make that decision?
Mm-hmm.
But I find the main things that are so stressful in this transition for anybody, doesn't matter your culture, doesn't matter like if you have money, money's an issue and comes up no matter how much you actually have in your bank account. That is the financial aspect of it, because where are the finances coming? Again, because you don't know what this means. Does this mean they're going to stay at your house and then you're helping cover the mortgage, to they actually need extended care and someone has to come in, or did they take them to a facility? The emotion, the energy that it takes to add in someone into your life. And then again, what you even call it, balance or guilt. I don't think people talk about that enough, because I don't feel like people actually have a space to say, I don't feel good about this. I think that culture says, well, you just have to have to.
It's your parents.
That may be what you want. You want to, it doesn't say you're not going to do it, but that doesn't mean that you don't have stress or anxiety or some kind of feeling of like I'll be real. My mom, I went over and I was helping her about 16 hours a week, probably for about the first 9 months to a year when she had a stroke. It was never enough. It was always, well, can you do my physical therapy? Now can you do this? Now can you do this? And then finally she just said, well, why don't you just move in with me? And I said, Mom, for one, I will probably, get in huge fights with your husband. That's not going to work. And secondly, this is your space and this is what you've chosen. And I just don't think that's going to be healthy for all of us all together. I'd rather just come and spend time with you. That was a really hard decision to make because I knew what she was asking me, but I knew the long term, I knew that was not going to be good
Solution, no.
even for her. It wouldn't have
Yeah.
been good for her. It wasn't a good solution, but that was hard. And I did wrestle with like, okay, but this is a woman who took care of you. This is a woman who's always been there for you. This is a woman who's done everything for you. Yes. And then I also had to say to myself, but she had boundaries too, taking, and when I grew up,
Yep.
I would get in trouble. I would get disciplined. There was, she didn't always say yes to everything all that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of, again, you have to go back and go, it's okay. The main thing is she safe? Is she being taken care of? Maybe, and even when it wasn't the way I wanted her to be taken care of, you have to look at the bigger picture and say, what is really going to be the best for everyone? And primarily looking at it from the viewpoint of long term, because you don't know how long it's going to be. Is this also for me? And what can I live with?
Yeah.
That's, I think, a hard one because you don't know. You really don't know.
And you don't know how long the season's going to last.
You don't. And I think I've heard more stories of people who don't make an effort at all. Like they don't come visit someone.
Yeah.
They don't jump on that plane. They don't make the phone calls. Whatever it is that they can give in the moment, even if there is a rocky relationship, those are the people that I hear the most say, I just wish.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely hear it from someone that tried to whatever capacity to do whatever they could, because they did do whatever they could.
Yeah.
And they can live with that.
Well, we hope this episode kind of helps. It was really driven because, well, the book that we have, but also because you've been in the season. We have clients that are in the season, and we have to get prepared for clients going through the season. But we hear the stories, even in our community. And so if you're watching, we hope that this has helped no matter what generation you're in. If you're Gen Z, if you're a millennial, or even if you're younger, just have the conversations, be open. And if you're in that season, set those boundaries and really pour back into your own cup. And if you need help, we're here to help out. You can reach out to us. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Really appreciate
And
you.
I was going to say, when, I'll look in the camera when I say this, if it was not for the work that I'd already been doing, I think I would have been very depressed and very sad. And secondly, I had someone, a listening ear to help, that helped because she wasn't a part of my family. You're related, but not blood related. And so I could say things to you in a very safe space and get semi-coaching back to reflect what I was saying, to help me in the moments that I didn't get sleep. I was completely exhausted, to be like, okay, I'm gonna survive this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we leave, we're gonna talk about our sponsor today. And guess what? It's not Cabby. Even though we're wearing Cabby, and I love Cabby, and we'll put the link in there because we are wearing Cabby. Today, we want to talk about the Giving Collective. That's something that's part of the YG Collaboration Brands. If you've been to an event, if you've known about us in the past 2 years, every single year we give a grant to a female entrepreneur in one of our local communities. But it is a year-round giving grant. So what you can do today is hit the link wherever you're watching. You can be part of the Giving Collective. You can give back. And at the end of the year, at our end of the year party, we are going to be able to give that grant to another female entrepreneur. If you want to look at the past 2 year recipients, that is available where you're watching as well. But just know that that's something that you can be part of. You can give back, because we both know how hard it is as a female entrepreneur, as a business owner, to get money. So we want to support a local entrepreneur here in Houston. So until next time, thank you.
And one more thing. Sorry,
yes.
I was just thinking about this. This, to me, is a great, send this as a special gift to someone who is struggling right now with taking care, or the thought of it, or starting it, or they're in the middle of it. Send them this podcast and just say, love you, appreciate you, been thinking about you, and I hope that this encourages you, because they're not alone.
Thank you. Till next time.
Bye.